Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Mike Beer with producer Bobby helping us out as we head on over to Remington Park to preview the Springboard Mile with Kentucky Derby points up for grabs. Wanted to really rub it in everyone's faces here, Mike, with my Dodger Santa hat so I could really upset a lot of people from all around the country and get some nice comments in on the comment section.
Probably should have started wearing it a little sooner than that. I know I understand it's a
Right.
Santa hat, but you probably should have had it on right after the World Series.
That's true. I could have been Grinchy for everyone else for the
You
last
missed
like month and a half or
you missed the
so.
whole window there.
Let's dive into the Springboard Mile and take a look. Remember, Kentucky Derby points are up for grabs. This is a big field we have lined up, Mike. And I think some of the horses that will take some support. You've got Spice Runner in the middle of the field, who's a lukewarm 3-1. He actually has some Kentucky Derby points, and he's a Grade 3 winner, but he's a little bit quirky. He is by no means a cinch in a field like this. And once you get past him, wow, you can start making cases for a lot of different horses in here. This was an interesting race to handicap.
I thought so too. I do think first of all, trips will probably be really important here, Gino. I mean, we're talking about a big field of mostly lightly raced 2-year-olds, and most of them have never been around two turns
Yeah.
in their life. That's what one of the Spice Runner has going for him. He is already a Grade 3 winner. He is, dropping out of some tougher races. So maybe he's just in the right spot here. I still feel like the starting off point is the horse that's drawn on the rail. I know he's never
Yeah.
stretched out, and I know he's a New York bred, but this horse is a standout on figures, and he's speed from the rail.
Completely agree. He has not been tested yet. Arctic Beast right next door. Time for Music has some ability too, coming off a runner-up effort last time out. Let's see what Time Form US thinks about how this race is going to shape up. They've got Big Apple Patrick towards the outside, showing some speed, but then down on the inside, I feel like Arctic Beast is going to want to hold that position as best as possible, Mike. I don't think he's going to want to come from too far out of it. And as you were pointing out, you got a big field with a lot of these lightly raced 2-year-olds who haven't even been this far.
Yeah, that run to the first turn could get really interesting. We'll see how aggressive some of these, horses drawn wide decide to get. I get that Big Apple Patrick could be a speed in here. He certainly showed way more speed in his second career start, but he didn't strike me as a horse who, necessarily had to get super aggressive, especially based on his debut. I don't know. We'll see how the pace plays out. One thing I do feel pretty confident in, Santana from the rail with Arctic Beast. He's going to use this horse's speed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you want to. You don't want to get shuffled behind
Yeah.
horses, caught in some traffic. So this is how the pace projector has it set up. Let's meet the field here, starting with the number 1, Arctic Beast, who is coming out of back-to-back stakes wins over at Finger Lakes. He's crushed horses in those 2 races. He broke his maiden at Saratoga, so you know he can compete with some very good horses. But he is a New York bred, Mike, so this will be the first start against open company, first start beyond 6 furlongs.
Yeah.
If you're looking at pedigree, though, the dam won all the way up to a mile and an eighth, so it shouldn't be an issue for him trying to continue to stretch out in here. And I mean, he's just playing with these horses.
Yeah, it's not like there are no obstacles for this horse to overcome in this race, but he's been good. His debut was a really good performance. That the horse that he, dueled down there and won by a nose, that was a really well-meant first-time starter who then came back and ran great in his second start with an 82 buyer. I mean, this horse, he's got speed. He's already won a couple of stakes races. His 3 figures, 79, 82, 86, they are the top 3 figures in this field. He's the fastest horse on the way in. I expect him to show speed from the rail. And you already pointed out, Yalpan, new sire, he was a sprinter. Who knows if his offspring are really going to want to go on? But there's distance on the bottom of this pedigree that I think can carry him at least a mile.
Yeah, I just think he's the quickest too. I feel like that's
Yeah, me too.
the trip for Santana down on the inside. Just put him on the lead, make him come and catch him. Right next door, you have the 2, Time for Music. Comes off a pretty good runner-up effort last time out. I mean, they paid $750,000 for this horse. He was 7th. He comes off of he was back to 8 off inside. He started to move on the outside. He thought he really closed well to finish 2nd. That comes off after a victory over at Keeneland going 7 furlongs. So what's nice is he has had that progression from distance stretching out. So I think he should be a little more fitter here, have some bottom. What do you think about Time for Music?
I like that about him too. I just like that they're gradually getting him more distance to work with. And as they've done that, this horse has just gotten better, in my opinion. I liked his maiden win 2 starts back. I thought he ran well in there. I thought he ran fine last time, Gino. I mean, at least I just put it this way. I don't think the mile had anything to do with him losing in there. I just think he was second best in that race. And I thought he ran fine. I thought he finished up actually pretty well in there. So, the 2-turn mile, I don't think is going to make a big difference. Asmussen has 3 in here, and he's got the morning line favorite that we've already sort of touched on a little bit, but this is the only Asmussen horse that I like. And I'll try to use this horse a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's got a major shot in here. Essential Time tried the turf last time out. He was third behind Express Bed, but he did win the Clever Trevor 2 starts back, which is a sprint stakes on the dirt, going 6.5 furlongs. It was a very nice W that day. So he went from that, tried the turf. Now he comes back to the dirt. What do you do with Essential Time?
Yeah, turf to dirt. I think that could, probably work for this horse to maybe give him a little bit more bottom last time. And they got him around 2 turns last time too, which I think is important. And he seemed like he handled it okay. I his 2 dirt races I like, but I don't love. The maiden win, I will say though, I'm sorry, the win in the Clever Trevor. He was very confident ride there.
Yeah.
Like he knew he was going to win. He just waited for a seam, just stayed over behind horses forever. And he just knew if he ever got a seam, he was going to win. And he got a seam and he won.
We move to a Royal American. He hasn't done much wrong in his career. He's a pretty nice Oklahoma bred who's now won back-to-back Oklahoma bred stakes races. So he's proven at Remington. He's proven at a mile. But now they're going to get the acid test here, right? He's a local horse. He's beaten up on some of the Oklahoma breds. So now they see, can he step up and face open company? You understand why they take a shot in here, but this will be much tougher than what he's faced before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's one of only 2 horses in here, though, with the prior win around 2 turns. So he does have that going for him, and that came in that race last time. He's up in class for this. I will say this about him, Gino. I do think when they stretched him out last time, and I know he was a very heavy favorite in there, and it took him a while to get by in the stretch. He won by less than a length. I think he won that race easier than the margin suggests. He looked like he was always going to win that race at the top of the stretch. And I do think he stayed on pretty nicely past the wire.
Yeah, he wore down that rival late. It's kind of like a well-measured victory. I agree with you. And what's nice about him, too, from a running style standpoint, we probably have questions about half the horses in here getting the distance, what running style they're going to be. This horse should be passing a lot of horses late and wouldn't shock me to be an underneath horse at a very fair price, maybe in the 3rd and 4th positions. We moved to My Dream Zapper, was a runner-up going 6 furlongs last time out. So this will be the first start beyond 6. He's coming in from Arapahoe. What do you do with with the My Dream Zapper?
Well, I mean, listen, he got 2 pretty easy wins back to back sprinting earlier on. I don't know that those races really did anything for me. Last time was when they tested him a little bit in a stakes race. I don't know how you felt about that, Gino. I just thought he got a good trip in that race.
Perfect trip.
And he just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, couldn't hold off. I mean, that's the exact trip he would have wanted. I agree. It was a little disappointing of an effort visually. We move to Supreme Good, who I believe we have a replay of. Supreme Good debuted on the turf, didn't show a whole lot at Saratoga, then came back in the second start sprinting at Saratoga, took a little bit of a drop in class and stretched out to a mile. And this is him just crushing a field on a muddy sealed track. I mean, he's just drawing off here to win by 8+ lengths. So major improvement here, Mike. I mean, was it the stretch out in distance? Was it the softer company? Was it the muddy track? I guess it could have been a little bit of all of those. What do you take out of it from Supreme Good?
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so tough to evaluate this horse, because it was a wet track and it was, I guess, maybe against a little bit of a weaker field. I'll be honest. Listen, his dirt debut was obviously in that really fast, It's Our Time was like all the rage there for about 5 minutes, and then he didn't pan out. But that was a really fast race this horse was in. I like that race that we just watched. I was prepared not to like this horse at all when I started handicapping this race, and I think we should just at least point out he was entered for turf last time too. He was not main track early in there, so McPeak did want to get this horse back on the grass last time, but the race that he ran, I mean, it's not like he just sort of sat back and let the race fall into his lap. He moved early. He's the one who sort of made that pace fall apart, and he just kept going through the stretch. I was pretty impressed with his last race.
And the thing this year, McPeak has a really good amount of 2-year-olds that have been talented. He may have just a really good pulse on how good some of these horses are. We've seen him win big races with 2-year-olds all over at different tracks. And if he likes this one, he's kind of stacking them up against some of the others in his barn and sends them over here. I think this horse could outrun their odds a little bit. I have him in the mix underneath, and I did exactly what you did. I was kind of going to pass by him first time out, and I really warmed up to him the more I watched that race. We moved to Spice Runner, the grade 3 Iroquois winner. So after that race, where he was a little green winning that race, they stepped him up. He faced grade 1 company in the Breeders' Futurity. I'm fine completely dismissing that race. He had a brutal start, never got involved. But the problem is it happened again last time in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Another slowish start from the rail. He was inside. He was about 8 lengths off, last of 7, and he just showed nothing. So I think when you have to win races at the higher levels, you can't do what he was doing. You can't have those slow
Yeah.
starts. You can't be as inefficient when you're facing better horses. It's a little bit of class relief for him here. And if he showed up with the best version of Spice Runner, either the runner-up effort from the Juvenile at Ellis or that effort in the Iroquois, those are pretty good. He's got to get out of the gate though, Mike.
Can't argue with any of that stuff. You're right. He cannot afford to break slowly here. This is obviously a better spot for him. I understand why he's a short price on the line, and there are no real distance concerns with this horse either. You don't feel like the mile is a big deal. I'll just say this: even if you don't care about his last two races against way better horses and he bad starts and all that stuff, I still go back to the two prior stakes races, and I know the results are better for him. I just didn't think that he ran that well in either of those races. He ran fine, and if he runs one of those races, maybe to be good enough in here. But I'm not a fan of this horse. I don't think he's that good. He is going to be one of the favorites in here, and if I bet this race, I'm betting somebody else.
Completely agree. He's going to be way shorter than I would want to take on him in a spot like this. We move to Way Beyond, and you look at his last two races. He was defeated over at Delta Downs, but then when you dive into the horse that beat him, Oscar's Hope is a pretty nice horse. That horse is 3 for 5 overall. He won his last two. If he were in this race, Oscar's Hope, he might be favored in this spot. So if you're just trying to compare the races that Way Beyond comes out of, they're not bad. Ramon Vasquez jumps aboard. Again, he will have to step up off of that, but he did face a nice horse in his last couple.
Sure enough, yeah. It's like he won his dirt debut narrowly, but he won it. And then his last two starts were both against Oscar's Hope, and he's just not as good as that horse, but maybe he's as good as some of these horses. I still, 2-turn race last time. That is 7.5 his 2 turns at Delta. I didn't think that he ran that well in that race.
No, I agree. Yep, I'm in the same sentiment with you, Mike, as we move to Western Man, who was a debut winner against Oklahoma Breds back on November the 28th. It was a good effort. Visually, it was pretty impressive. The problem is that was 6.5 against Oklahoma Breds, and that was not even a month ago. So now he's going to go a little bit longer. He's going to have to step up, face Open Company, longer distance, tougher, a lot of question marks, but I will give him some positive endorsement off of that effort. It was visually very impressive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of this stuff, right off of a debut maiden win sprinting to stretch right out in a stakes race against, some potentially pretty good horses too. I don't usually love that stuff. I love the horse. I love the race this horse ran first time.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable in there. He did not break very well. So that's a problem for him. He was out of the gate very slowly there. But after that, he basically dragged his rider into the race, and he crushed that field through the stretch. This horse can run, and he's bred to stretch out. If he's anywhere near that 20-1 on the morning line, I'll try to use him in here. I don't love the spot necessarily, but I think this horse has a chance to be pretty good.
And if after that start, you were kind of hitting on it, he was pretty professional. He sat behind horses nicely. He was just full of run. He waited. He got a nice opening, angled around 3 wide, and he just drew off visually. Very, very nice. We moved to Big Apple Patrick. He broke his maiden in the career debut. And then in his second start, he stretched out. Both races, he's been on the sloppy track so far. So he's looking for a fast dirt track for the first time. What do you do with him, Mike? He was one of the trickier reads in this race for me.
I thought so too. And especially you have to, I'd be shocked, I guess, if he was just a wet track move up, but maybe it's possible. He doesn't run on fast dirt yet. I'm not worried about surface necessarily, but my takeaway from this horse is I really liked his debut. And I just liked the way that he did it in there, Gino, because he was just sort of down on the inside. He was behind horses for a long way, but he seemed fine with it. And then he just made this big run around the turn. They swung him 5 wide. He was super green through the stretch, sort of trying to lug it, but he just ran right by those horses. I thought that was a really impressive debut that he made. And then, they tried it a little differently last time around 2 turns. They just sort of sent him off to the front in there. I know the fractions don't look that strong, but I just thought he was powering along on the lead up there. He fought off the first challenge, couldn't quite fight off the next 2, but I still thought that was a decent effort against a decent field last time. And I think he might be pretty well spotted here. I think this horse has a chance to be all right, and he's going to be a fair price.
Yeah, I think he'll set off a little bit too. Sometimes horses like this, where they close so well in their debut, it's a little bit different when you put them on the lead. It's just different circumstances. They get a little lost out there sometimes. There's certainly ability with him, and maybe drawn to the outside that can have him sit off a bit in here. We move to Jets Rio, who broke his maiden on November the 20th on a sloppy track over at Remington Park. He did beat Open Company. He had a good start. He sat just off the leader. He moved to the front, and he drew off nicely in the slot by 5. But if we're just comparing speed figures, his is really light compared to a lot of the others in here.
I agreed. I try not to get too caught up in speed figures for like 2-year-olds, but we'll see. This horse might have just found himself not only in a pretty tough race here, but also from post 11. I don't, that probably works against him as well. I'll say this, and I don't want to spend too much time in this horse because he's a big price, but he's a big price that I'll try to use somewhere because I really like his win last time. They stretched him out for the first time on the dirt there. They had to send this horse. He wanted the lead. Everybody towards his side, they all wanted the lead. He got stuck 5 wide on the first turn trying to make the front. His rider just never backed off. He just kept going. He made this horse take over. And this horse, I thought he stayed on really well. I think that's an underrated maiden win last time. He probably can't win this race, but if he's up there at 30, 40, 50 to 1, I'm using him somewhere.
There are a couple horses in here, the Remington horses that won. You understand why their connections take a shot because their wins were visually impressive. Like they may not be as good as some of these horses, but they have a local advantage and they were impressive wins like for Western Man and for Jets Rio here who don't have to travel at all and they'll take a shot. We round things out with Express Kid, who was a winner on the turf last time out. 2 starts back, though, he was well beaten behind Essential Time in the Clever Trevor. So off of the good grass race, moving back to the dirt now, what do we do with him, Mike?
Yeah, I don't like the post for him. I don't love his running style from out there either because he does seem like a speed, and I don't see him getting the right trip. And I would just say if you wanted to be lenient on the Clever Trevor, he won on turf last time. That's probably a feather in his cap. But the Clever Trevor is a race where Essential Time probably got the trip and this horse didn't. That was a very competitive pace, and this horse was involved in it, and he paid the price, and Essential Time just sort of sat back and made that run to come close it down.
So we round out the field for the Springboard Mile and we move to selections. I thought this was a really interesting race, Mike. I probably could have made a case for 5 or 6 different horses based on price and looking at them. You're going to lean on Big Apple Patrick. Talk us through your selections here.
I went looking for prices too. I liked Big Apple Patrick's debut quite a bit. I think he can get more that kind of a trip in this race. Hopefully, sort of not gunning for the lead, just sort of sit back a little bit and make a run. I think there's potential here to take one more step forward. This isn't the kind of race, Gino, where I want to bet Arctic Beast, but I want to give him the respect that he deserves.
Sure.
I think he's the horse to beat. So I put him second. I'm probably not betting him in this race, but I think he's the horse to beat in this race over the Asmussen Spice Runner, who I just don't like that much. And we sort of touched on the 2 long shots I like. The 9 super impressive debut, and Jets Rio, who I think ran a lot better than it looked winning last time.
A good betting race is when you see a lot of different numbers from the 2 of us. That means there's a lot of different ways we can go. Mike's going to go 10, 1, 9, 11. I thought the 2 Time for Music might be fair at around 5 to 1-ish. I like the prices of both the 6 Supreme Good and the 4 Royal American if you're looking for some underneath horses to include, but a very fun edition of the Springboard Mile. However you play them, we wish you the best of luck.